Good evening. Welcome to the Man Cave for our new Thursday night live from the Man Cave. Trying this out. We got brother Jeff. Jeff in Orlando. How are you tonight?
Doing great, buddy.
And I got a special surprise for you guys. We have hired Jarrell Sterling to join us tonight. Uh, Jarrell used to be an Atlanta guy, but he had to move out to Dallas, Texas to teach those guys out there how to make barbecue. And And then Tanya's upstairs as usual running the show. So you know how it is. We're just here on Thursday night now instead of Friday to see how that pans out. And I'm going to kick off with a drink just like we always do. And Hank, glad you could make it in. I'm gonna get back into the Eagle Rare again this week. It's what we had last week, so that's what I'm going with again tonight. Jeff, are you having a drink with us tonight?
Oh yeah, I got four roses in hand.
Jarrell?
I'm drinking vanilla cream soda because I have work after
There you
this.
go. Tanya, I heard Tanya running the Vitamix upstairs again, so there's probably a smoothie in Tanya's immediate vicinity.
Oh no.
Yeah, okay. Awesome.
Tanya
So,
has a homemade frappuccino,
oh, a
salted
frap.
caramel. Because
Awesome.
I
So,
just got out of the class where we talked about
cheers.
Git for an hour. I need the
Mm.
caffeine.
Well, our new intro tonight was courtesy of Tanya. I I hired Tanya to make me a new video intro so we could have something a little different. My old one, all of a sudden, for some reason or another, started throwing up copyright violations on Facebook, which is odd because it was royalty free music that came from YouTube, actually. So I'm not sure what's happening there. So, Tanya, we'll bring you back with us towards the end. All right. So, Jarrell, glad to have you with us. I'm glad you could join us
Yeah,
tonight.
absolutely. Thanks for
How
the invite,
hot
Joe.
how hot is it in Dallas tonight?
It has cooled off to a wonderful 93 or 94 degrees. So, I'm going to grab a jacket or something because it's been in the hundreds.
Yeah. Jeff, what's it like in Orlando tonight?
Well, we finally got some rain, so that cooled it off. But right before the rain, when I was out, it was 102.
Oh boy, man, we haven't seen any rain here at my house in 10 or 12 days now, and but it's been a few degrees cooler here in the last few days. At the moment, it's 78 degrees outside. We only saw 92 today, so it wasn't so bad overall. Uh, but it's still it's been hot and humid. When I was shooting video uh, yesterday evening and this morning, I shot this week's video. I did a pork butt and I made pulled pork sandwiches today. We're going to look at some of these pictures here in a little bit. And when I take my video camera on the tripod from inside the man cave out onto the deck, if I don't think about that in advance, as soon as I go out there with it, my lens fogs up and moisture starts condensing on it. And it takes it about 20 minutes for it to equalize enough to where my lens is clear enough to where I can shoot video. So it's just one of those things. So yeah,
My
it's
my tripod is 18 years old and it talks back to me when I'm trying to make videos,
it
telling
must
me
be nice.
I don't know about that, telling me all the
Well,
screw ups I'm making while I'm cooking.
guys, Jarrell's creating his own YouTube channel. He's starting to put a little video content up here. So if you search out Jarrell Sterling here on YouTube, you'll
Jesus.
find the beginnings of his YouTube offerings. And Jarrell, uh, what update me, refresh my memory on everything you're cooking on down there now? I know you've got a big Joe.
Yeah, I got a Big Joe Series 2 and a Joe Jr. and a 22-inch Blackstone. I know that it's these Blackstones are either love or hate relationships. Seems like it in the Joe groups, but I love mine, and it gets a lot of work.
Yeah, I had one. I guess mine was a 22 inch. It was that I don't remember. I just recently got rid of it simply because I had to make some space for some other stuff, and I've got a Camp Chef 3 burner propane stove that actually has a 24-inch wide cast iron griddle that I can set above 2 of the 3 burners on it if I ever really wanted to use a griddle. But I may get another one at some point. Camp Chef makes another one now that's really caught my eye, and I think it's an exclusive to Walmart product, and it's an electric griddle. And
I've seen.
they've got 2 versions of it. One of them's a single zone, and the other one's a 2 zone. And it would be kind of nice because the electric one I could use inside or outside, and it's got a cart where you can roll it around and
Sure.
kind of get it out of the way. Jeff, do you ever do any griddle cooking? I know you've got the master built with the griddle option on it now.
Yep. Yep. I do breakfast out there and do my Philly cheesesteaks out there.
Right. Well, let's see what we got going on. Jarrell made cheesesteaks on his griddle this week, and he made a video. And unfortunately, and I apologize for this, I haven't had a chance to go look at the video yet, and I'm going to.
Well,
Tonight.
I've been telling everybody, get a drink and a snack because it's like going to the movies. It's 18 some odd minutes long.
I feel you, man. If you go back to Man Cave Meals YouTube channel and go back to my early videos, some of the first videos I put out, they're like that. They're long, they're tedious, they're hard to watch, and it's mainly because I like to ramble. And I have a friend who sometimes shows up on these live streams. He's a guy that I've known that I met way back on the Barbecue Brethren forum. His name's Michael Stevenson, and he gave me some really good feedback. Some tough love, I guess you could call it, on making video. He pounded me. He hounded me to get my videos shorter, to make them shorter. And I worked on that and finally got most of them down, or got my process down to where my content is reasonable length. And I think in a nutshell, the best way to describe how long any particular video should be is there should be no dead time in the video, and there should be not a whole lot of video of doing where there's no talking going on. And the talking needs to be relevant. And one of the things I've played with in the past that has been really successful for making shorter and more concise videos is to do the narration of the video before you shoot anything. It's a little difficult to do, and it takes some practice. But narrate the audio, narrate your video before you shoot any video, and then go shoot all the video and use the video clips to fill in your narration. That, in my experience, has been the best way to keep my videos as short as possible.
So how often do you find that you forgot to mention something in the narration and then you want it to be in there?
It comes up, and that's one of the reasons where it's critical. You have to plan your narration. So typically, though, most of the videos that I make are a process that I'm already familiar with. And when I'm already familiar with the process or the recipe that I'm going to cook, it's easier because I'm less likely to forget something. So I make myself a little outline of what's going to happen, and I write it on paper, or actually I create a little Word document and say, here are the things I need to talk about. And a lot of times what I'll do is, when I start a video, I'll do a stand-up intro, introduce the video. And what I will do is I will just, after I've introduced the video, I'll just keep right on talking from that position. I'll talk to the camera and explain what I'm going to do step by step, and then go shoot the video to go along with it. I am more likely to not shoot a piece of video that I need than I am to leave out the narration that needs to be there. That seems to be what happens. And if that happens, I can fall back to my video where I'm standing there narrating and just bring myself in. Yeah, I've got a fallback if that happens. And Anthony, no, I don't really write a script. Like I said, I just make an outline. And I don't do this as frequently as I'd like to because it's more difficult. It's more time consuming to edit this video to edit video content to fit my narration than it is to narrate and shoot at the same time. It takes longer to put it together, but it does make shorter and more concise videos. So maybe I'll try that here in the future. And Jarrell, next time I do that, I'll be sure to point it out that, hey, I did that video this way. And typically when I do that video, I'm able to keep my videos in the 3 to 5 minute range, which is right where I think they need to be.
Sure.
I think 3 to 4 minutes is absolutely the best case scenario. But some things, it depends on what you're doing. Some things you just can't describe the process in that amount of time. You have to. It just takes some practice.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say 3 to 5 minutes. I've given myself a challenge. I have some content. I made a tri-tip this week, and I have the video content. And my challenge to myself is make this video and make it look useful in 5 minutes, because otherwise it's 20 minutes or something crazy.
3 to 5 minutes. Attention spans are short, and you'll see this if you start looking at the analytics on your video content. If I put a 5 minute video out there, 95% of the views on that video are 30 seconds or less. So
wow.
It's just how it is. There's not as many people that'll watch the whole video, and this is one of the reasons why I keep asking myself, in this day and time, am I optimizing my productivity by making video? I seem to get a lot more user interaction when I post a group of photos with a write-up to go with it. That seems
interesting.
That really, in this day and time, seems to engage the user more. But it's YouTube. The videos that I post on YouTube get replays over time. People go back. People find those videos down the road. But that's not the case on Facebook. The Facebook videos get a lot more views in the beginning.
Sure.
But after that video's been on Facebook for a couple of weeks, it seems like it hardly ever gets watched at all again. It's not like YouTube. So I don't understand the algorithm so much. But yeah. So that's where that is. Jeff, let me look at Jeff's got some. Well, Jeff did a little cooking this week. Jeff, what's this? This is a brisket.
Nope, that's pork butt.
Okay. I'm sorry. It is a pork butt. I was going through the pictures you made, and so you cooked. What did you season this one with?
Season that one with AGC's Georgia button ribs and some Lane's brisket.
And
That's
what's
a brisket.
here? Okay.
That's a brisket.
So I'm trying to sort out the photos you sent me. I don't know if I've got these in the right order or the wrong order or what. So
that's the brisket seasoned with Lane's brisket, a rub.
Okay. And this is that brisket near being done, right?
Yep.
So what process did you use to cook this one?
I put it at 200 degrees until we got, actually it went to about almost to 170 before I was happy with the bark. Then I put it in the aluminum pan, covered it with foil, and it probed out at 203.
170 to 175 seems to be the temperature where I'm getting bark that I'm happy with when I'm cooking at those temperatures. The only time I end up getting bark that I think is solid in the 160 range is if I'm cooking at 300 degrees or north of that. But yeah, that bark looks good. So
that looks great.
Well, let me tell you what, this brisket here is the one that I bought from Kroger. I told you I got 2 of them.
Right.
John, I don't think I trimmed 8 ounces of fat off of that brisket. It was that well trimmed. Yes.
Really?
That's amazing.
I was shocked. I mean, I opened it up and $1.99 a pound. Bought 2 of them.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I was just telling Tanya yesterday that the next brisket that I'm planning to buy is going to cost me about $10 a pound. I was talking to my mom about it, because she said she might want to go in halvers with me on it. I'm going to get one of these F1 Wagyu briskets, and typically if I buy 16, when I looked at these briskets before, there were 16 to 18 pounds in the case, and typically when I buy a 16-pound brisket, I'm going to cut 4 pounds of fat off of that
Well,
on
this one
average.
here
And
was 13 pounds, and it was
yeah,
Iowa Choice Black Angus,
right,
and it was sweet. I mean, it just came out nice. And I mean, you looked at the decal in between the point and the flat. That's
right.
it's
It
not.
looks
I mean,
good. Yeah, that looks like a perfect cook. Everything looks great there. And is this the pulled pork that
yep,
I have out of order?
yep.
Okay, so and here, what are we working on?
Oh, that looks amazing. What is that?
Uh, it's a my version of a cottage pie, and what it is, it's crinkle cut, multicolored carrots and leeks is what you see in there. Cook those down, and then go ahead and go to the next picture, John.
What are you cooking that in?
Uh, the classic three with the big 18-inch cast iron or 14-inch cast iron.
Is that the lodge?
No, that's the one that I got from Academy Sports that I paid $29
Okay.
for. That
So
thing
in the
is great,
pan,
man.
when you're cooking these vegetables down, what are you? Do you have some fat in there or some liquid or what?
I use a combination of butter and olive oil.
Okay, that's a great combination. I like
Yep.
cooking in butter and olive oil. That's a flavor bomb that's hard to beat. So here's the next picture.
There I've added the leftover brisket and pulled pork, added that to it, and we had a little bit of sweet Italian sausage, so I threw that in too. As catch as catch can. And then
Right.
what I told you before, on the sauce, and you need to try this, John, because this pan is
Yep.
so big. I used a cup and a half of the G. Hughes steak sauce, that's sugar free, and
Right.
then a third of a cup of the W sauce.
Right.
Man, I tell you what, that makes one heck of a cottage pie.
Well, unfortunately, I'm out of the W sauce. I'm going to have to get some more. I meant to pick some up when I was at Atlanta Grill Company, and I forgot. I am out of it, so
Well, they
we'll have
got
to
a
get some
second
more.
version out there too.
Yeah, I saw that one. I haven't tried that yet either. Is
Okay,
this
now
your
this is what's going
cauliflower
to
mash
turn,
top?
you got it. This is what's going to
Yeah.
turn off some of you people. But I'm going to tell you, if you go out to Keto Focus and you get their recipe for the keto mash, I'm telling you, these things taste every bit as good as mashed potatoes. You cook it
Is
in
that
chicken
cauliflower?
stock. Yep. You cook it in chicken stock. You add cream cheese, butter, salt, pepper. I topped it off with white Irish cheese. Actually, I had to get a kind of an off-centered picture because before I could get the picture, some people already dove into it.
That's all right.
That never happens at my house. They all wait
Oh
No,
boy.
patiently for the pictures.
yeah, sure.
Oh boy. Well, that looks crazy, Jeff. Tanya and I were talking about cottage pie and some variations of that tonight when we had dinner. She was making some suggestions of some things she'd like to see based on the idea of cottage pie or shepherd's pie, and I've got some ideas rolling around now in the back of my head based on some feedback that she gave me of some ideas that are similar but yet different, and see what I come up with. So we may throw
Compare notes.
caution to the wind and try something outside the box
Well,
related
like I
to
said, that recipe is keto friendly.
yeah. Okay, let me
There's a running joke at my house that you buy cauliflower when you my wife buys cauliflower when I've done something wrong. So
I tell you what,
so
seriously, Joel, have her look up the Keto Focus on Facebook and
okay.
go get the cauliflower mash recipe. Or if you can't
Jarrell, I
find
take
it,
it you
email
don't
me.
like cauliflower.
Not my favorite thing, John.
It's not my
Try it
favorite
like
thing
this.
either, but it's one of these things that I've trained myself to like, and I've had some fairly good success with it. And I might be able to pass on some things I've learned to you to make it where you can like cauliflower too. And cauliflower, in my opinion, is not as hard to like as some of the things that we've talked about
Like
learning to like in the past, like Brussels sprouts.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, Brussels sprouts are a little harder to learn to like, but
Then cauliflower.
cauliflower, cauliflower, in my opinion, is a lot like chicken because it's not bringing its own flavor to the table. It's dependent on what you do to it. And when Jeff talks about cooking that cauliflower down in chicken stock, I'm on with that. I think that would be really good. Now, or if you're not, even if you're going to use chicken stock, I would use an unsalted chicken stock, and you might brine that cauliflower in salt water for a couple hours before
Mm.
you break it down into the chicken stock, and you're going to bring it. Yeah, Honorog says you just haven't had it cooked the right way, and I hear that a lot. But Jarrell and I are a lot alike here at Honorog. We have our preconceived notions about what sucks and what doesn't, and these things are traditionally on those lists for us. I worked really hard to find a way to like Brussels sprouts, and I worked even harder to find a way to like sweet potatoes. And I've
Now that's where we differ. I love sweet
yeah,
potatoes,
but
but
you
the way
like
I cook
sweet.
them is not at all keto friendly. Way
Yeah,
too much
see,
sugar and butter and brown
that's
sugar
I
and
had to
stuff.
go the
Yeah.
opposite direction. I had to go to the savory direction to be able to like sweet potatoes. I don't like the sweetness overload. So, I season mine with salt and pepper and chili powder, and I pan seared those a little bit and then roasted them at high temperature in the oven to put some
Hmm.
char on them. And I put a little bit of chili powder and a little bit of extra ground cumin in there, and I was able to work with that. I actually think I made a video somewhere down the pipe on that. So
Huh.
anyway, guys, if you have Food Line near you, Food Line's got pork butts on sale, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be nationwide to wherever Food Lines are. If you don't have Food Lines, I think Kroger. Somebody told me Kroger and Harris Teeter had pork butts on sale for this price also. So now this is a holiday weekend here in the U.S., and it's a good time to find pork butts on sale. And now is a really good time to stock up. If I didn't already have 5 in the freezer, I'd have bought some more. So I bought 2. I did buy 2 more this week, and I cooked one of them today that we're going to look at here momentarily. But before I started that, Honorog got me going on an idea recently about making some homemade crackers. And I was really impressed with how simple these were and how easy they were to do. And I wanted to share a little bit about it with you. The formula, these are sourdough crackers. And what you're looking at here in this picture is sourdough starter, olive oil, flour with a pinch of salt in it, and then some herbs. So the basic formula to make sourdough crackers is 1 cup of ripe sourdough starter, 1 cup, and that sourdough starter needs to be 100% hydration, which means it's half flour and half water by weight, which most of your sourdough starters are. So 1 cup of ripe sourdough starter, 1 cup of flour, half a teaspoon of salt, a quarter of a cup of olive oil, and I think I used a teaspoon apiece of dried thyme and dried oregano with this. And if you're not going to use a sourdough starter, you can do this exact same thing by using a half a cup of water and a cup and a half of flour to make up the flour water mixture here. And you use the rest of the ingredients are still the same. So you basically just mix all that up. I tossed all that in a small mixing bowl and worked it up into a dough ball. And this is not a wet, sticky dough ball. This is rather dry compared to a lot of your bread, and it's real easy to work. So we made that into a dough ball, and you need to toss that into the refrigerator for a couple hours to let it chill. It makes it easier to roll out. And then you pull it out and split it into 2. I think I actually split mine into 2 before I went to the refrigerator to help them cool even quicker. And then you roll these guys out on parchment paper, and um, you want to roll this out really thinly. And this is the mistake I made on this batch is I didn't roll them out quite thin enough. Each half of that dough ball is enough to roll out almost to the size of a half sheet tray. And what you see here is a quarter sheet piece of parchment paper. So I needed to roll that out twice as thin as I did. But anyway, I rolled it out, and then I put some of the Trader Joe's everything bagel seasoning on top of that, and then I went over that with another pass with my rolling pin just to help that stick to the dough. And then I used a pizza wheel to cut it into squares. And then I put it on a quarter sheet pan and threw it in the oven. The instructions I was going by recommended 350, and I was at 350 with convection in my Anova oven here, and this is what I ended up with. And the flavor here was really good. It was not bad at all. The star of this particular cracker, though, is the Trader Joe's Everything Bagel Seasoning, because that's kind of a garlic forward seasoning blend. If any of you've ever had it, it's got a good bit of garlic and flaky sea salt in it. So that worked out really well. Those crackers came out beautifully, and I made a second batch of them the next day, and I didn't include those photos in this, but I substituted in some whole wheat flour in the place of some of the white flour that I used there. I did everything else the same, and I rolled the second batch out thinly like they should have been, and they were a lot better. I like the flavor. I like the earthiness that the wheat flour brought to that. I'll probably do that again. I'll probably back off a little bit and get my wheat flour percentage back a little more than I used this time. So, but those crackers were delicious, and they're real easy to make, and there's a lot of opportunity there. You can season those. When it comes to the herbs, you can put whatever you want in there. You don't have to use what I used or whatever you're going to top it with. It does need some kind of salt on top, and I think the flaky sea salt or something like Malden sea salt or Fleur de Sel, a nice finishing salt on the top of those crackers was really good.
What you have with the crackers, John?
In this case, I didn't do anything with them. I was just making them as an experimental cook. I didn't make a dip or anything to go with that. But Anurag is a cheese. He's a cheesehead. he's got a really fine taste for fine cheeses, and some of the cheeses, a soft cheese spread on there would be delicious. You could use cream cheese, or you could even put cheese on those crackers before you bake them if you wanted to put some parm or something like that on there. Uh, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of opportunity there, and I plan to play with that a good bit more. And when I come up with something I think that's too good to pass up. Yeah, the pimento cheese. I like pimento cheese, and pimento cheese goes great on crackers. Anurag pimento cheese also is great on pork rinds. If you've got some nice pork rinds, especially
That
if they're
is the most southern thing I've heard all day, and I'm loving it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
but pork rinds, yeah. Tanya and I can't. We went somewhere one time that had pork rinds and pimento cheese. I don't remember. I don't remember where it was. We'll ask her when we bring her back. But
Hey, John,
yeah.
I need to step aside for a second. I got to go get my butts.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll bring Jeff down here. We'll kick him out for a few minutes. He's got meat on the grill. So yeah. But
That's
do you
important.
like pimento cheese, Jarrell?
I don't know.
Don't know. You haven't tried it.
No, yeah. What's in it? What kind of cheese? Because it starts as some regular cheese, and then what do you
Well,
do?
my homemade pimento cheese, I use extra sharp cheddar. And basically, what you do is you grate extra sharp cheddar, and then you add mayonnaise to it until you've got a consistency that you like. And once you have that, you add diced pimentos. You drain the juice off of the diced pimentos, and you add that and stir that in. And then I like to add some seasonings to mine. And when I first started doing this, I would use a little onion powder, a little garlic powder, a little cayenne
Mhm.
pepper. But I've simplified things because I really like Lane's SPF 53
Sure.
and Ryan Lane. In fact, Jarrell, if you want to try pimento cheese for the first time, go to Lane's Barbecue's website and look somewhere on his website or in his blog. He's got a pimento cheese recipe that's pretty good that uses his SPF 53. That's a great place to start.
Okay.
And
Good deal.
but my wife loves my pimento cheese, and she likes it on hot dogs with my homemade chili. It's
Oh
really,
wow.
it's kind of a staple around here.
So
So
that
yeah,
comment leads me to a question. Have you ever had or heard of a Sonoran hot dog?
no,
So we've got some neighbors across the street, and they had a little get together this past weekend. And the husband says, "Oh, Jarrell, I want you to try this Sonoran hot dog." And I'm like, "You, I've never heard of it." I text him back, "I don't even know what that is, dude, so, but I'll give it a shot." So apparently, it's a Tucson, Arizona thing, and it's a bacon wrapped hot dog
hmm
cooked on like a grill or flat top or something, and then you put the sorts of toppings that you would normally put on a taco. So guacamole, pico de
yeah,
gallo,
it
that sort
sounds
of stuff.
good.
It was amazing. So I have added that to my list of things to try. But now I'm sort of asking folks. I'm just walking around going, "Have you ever heard of this?" And
Mm.
literally nobody has unless they're from Tucson.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, but let me know what you find out about that. And in the meantime, I'll look at it because I think Tanya would like that. The only thing with Tanya is I'd have to be able to get the bacon. Tanya loves bacon, and I love
Mhm.
bacon too. But with Tanya, I've got to have that bacon extra crispy, and I'm not sure how I'd go about getting it extra crispy. What I might do to alleviate that problem on it, if I make it for her, is cook the bacon separately and then put a strip of bacon on each side of that hot dog in the bun and then top it off. And I think I'd
Right.
be able to get away with that. Or crumble the bacon, crumble crispy bacon on top. I'd be able to
This,
get the bacon in there.
yeah, this my inaugural Sonoran hot dog, that I had. The bacon was pretty well done, but it's I know what you're getting at. That she likes the specific crispiness with none of
Yeah.
the chewy. Yeah.
Mhm. So that was that sounds good. I want to move on here to the next thing. Last week I had some people ask me specifically about ghee, and it prompted me to go ahead and make some more. And I actually, guys, I made a video of this, and I haven't edited it yet, but I'll get this video up and get it published sometime the first part of the week. But somebody last week, I don't remember exactly who it was now, asked me to talk about ghee, and I think this would be a good time to do that because I like using ghee when I'm going to pan sear anything. Like if I'm going to cook on the soapstone on my Kamado Joe, or if I was going to cook on a griddle, uh, when I'm going to lay down the fat to cook in, I like ghee, and I think Jeff's back, and I like the ghee, and I like the flavor it brings. And ghee's really expensive if you buy it in the grocery store. It's expensive compared to a lot of other things. So I bought 4 pounds of unsalted butter for this project, and I just put it in a saucepan. And it took me a while to realize that my saucepan was not going to be quite big enough for this project. So I started melting this butter down, that 4 pounds of butter in a 2-quart saucepan, and it almost filled my saucepan up. So I ended up transferring to a larger stock pot for this particular project. So, but to make ghee, what you're going to do is bring your butter to a simmer over medium heat and just let it boil. You've got this process. Once you get the butter melted, it takes about an hour to go from melted butter to ghee. And what's happening here, there's two things that are going on. You're boiling the water. Butter has a water content, and you're boiling the water out of the butter, and you're separating the butter fat from the milk solids. And the milk solids fall to the bottom, and what happens is the butter is clarified, and it's called. I know you've heard of clarified butter, and clarified butter is just one step short of ghee. So as you keep going, this is what it starts to look like. The foam subsides, and you've got a little bit of stuff, a little bit of these milk solids that are floating around on top, but eventually they start to fall to the bottom. And here I am, I'm about done, and you can see down on the bottom of my pan, these are the milk solids. And let me back up a step here. At this stage, what I have pretty much, or actually at this stage, what I have here is clarified butter. That means that my milk solids have separated from the milk fats and or from the fats, but they haven't completely fallen to the bottom yet. So if I wanted to make just clarified butter, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take this off the heat and I'm going to strain it through cheesecloth into another container and strain those milk solids out and not let them come through. And then I've got perfectly good clarified butter. But ghee, like I said, is the next step in this process. Those milk solids that have fallen to the bottom here, if you let that keep going and let it brown, those milk solids, you turn this clarified butter into what is called ghee, and you can smell the change when this is happening. This clarified butter takes on a really nutty and earthy, nutty aroma, and it's just amazing. The smell is amazing. But when you get to this point, you have to be careful here. You do not want to let these turn black, because if you go too far with this, it will be bitter and it will taste bad. But quite honestly, I think this color on these butter solids is just about the perfect place to be for making ghee. So what I did, I drained my my ghee off and left all these are the solids that were left behind. I drained that into a batter bowl that I have here, and you can still see that there's a little bit of foam there on top of that, but that's not a problem because I'm going to strain that through cheesecloth into my mason jars using a one of those canning funnels. You can see it. Well, actually, I don't have it in the picture here, but a canning funnel. I put cheesecloth in there, a square of cheesecloth that's about 6 layers thick or so, and then poured that butter straight through there, and it filters back any of the milk solids that are left. And out of the 4 pounds of butter, I ended up with right exactly 4 pints of ghee. So it yields about a pint per pound of butter. And you can see how clear this is. And it's got, like I said, it has a beautiful aroma. And you let this sit out at room temperature, or you can do like I did and just toss it in the refrigerator to help it solidify. It solidifies and looks like butter again, with a little bit less color maybe than the butter had going in. But this stuff is stable at room temperature. You don't have to refrigerate this. All the stuff that is in butter that would spoil is gone. We've taken it out. And what I typically do is I just put these in the pantry. I don't put these in the refrigerator until I open one. Whenever I open one of them, I just throw it in the refrigerator after that, because typically they don't last that long. I use a good bit of this. I use it for, like I said, anytime I'm going to pan sear, anytime I'm going to sear on a soapstone. And I think Andrew just asked how long this stuff lasts. I don't know. I've never. I made enough here. This 4 pints is going to last me. That might last me a year. That very well might last me a year if I don't give any of it away. So I would think, I don't know if I've ever kept any longer than a year, but stuff that I've had in my cabinet for 8 or 9 months, I know has been fine. And guys, beef tallow is the same way. You know, I've made beef tallow from leftover brisket trimmings, and it's shelf stable at room temperature also. But once again, when I open it, I just throw it in the refrigerator. But that's how ghee comes to be here at the Man Cave. That's how I make it. When you price ghee, depending on where you buy it, I've seen ghee most of the time in the shops where I've seen ghee for sale. It's not pints. I think a half pint, a 16th. Well, Jeff, do you buy ghee or do you make ghee? Jarrell, do you use it?
Make it.
I like to use it. I have looked at it in the stores, and I routinely pass it by because a little container is $8 or $10 or
Yeah.
something crazy.
Well, it is pricey, but as you see here, I spent total time, start to finish, set up, clean up, and everything less than 2 hours of time to make that. And there's 45 or 50 minutes in that process where you don't have to do anything to it. You can be doing something else, but it's it's no more expensive if if you're not putting the dollar value on your time, it doesn't cost you any more than the butter. And butter
Sure.
right now is $4 a pound. I paid $4 a pound for the butter. I could have bought cheaper butter probably, but uh, the particular blocks of butter I bought were $4 a pound. So I spent $16 and got 4 pints of ghee. So yeah, and Anthony, you can make more or you can make less. I just figure it doesn't take me any more time to make 4 pounds worth of it than it does to make 2 pounds. So I just went ahead and made four, and it'll be a while before I have to make it again. And
Do you have a video out there?
Jarrell,
Telling
I
me that
made
process?
video of this.
Okay.
I made video of this one, and I'll get it up next week. But I do have there is a ghee video on the Man Cave Meals page that's a couple years old. But
I thought there was one.
this will be an updated version of that. And I'm probably going to publish this one on Atlanta Grill Company's sites instead of Man Cave Meals. So yeah, Honor Rock, they go through 3 pints every 2 months. That they use a lot more than I do. I don't use it for much more than pan searing, but this would if you like buttered popcorn, this makes buttered popcorn over the top. So
Okay.
it beats anything that you're going to come across in the movie theater, that's for sure. So uh, that was my ghee project for the week, and then I moved on to what I was doing yesterday and today. I wanted to make a video since I got those butts on sale. I wanted to do another pulled pork video, so I decided I'm going to end up with pulled pork sandwiches. And I have grown to love my pickled onions on pulled pork sandwiches. So I made a batch of my pickled onions to use on these sandwiches. And I'm just going to put the recipe that I used up here on the screen. Whenever I publish this video, which will be Saturday, I'll include the recipe here for the pickled onions. But this is real easy to make. You get one or two decent sized red onions, and I sliced them thinly. And what I did was I sliced my onion down the middle where I've got half rings. When I go to slice it, slice them fairly thinly, and then I just pack that 2 pint mason jar as full as I can get. I stuff onions in there until you can't stuff any more in it, and then put the rest of these ingredients in it. It's just white wine vinegar, salt, garlic, black peppercorns, allspice berries, some thyme, some red pepper flakes, and just a little bit of sugar. And you don't have to heat this. You can heat this if you want to, but I find that it's not necessary. I just put all that together at room temperature, and I'll let it sit out at room temperature for an hour or two, and then go to the fridge with it, and it's ready. The pickling, when you've got your onions sliced up like that, doesn't take but maybe an hour for it to completely do its thing. But I recommend, if you're going to make this, I'd make it at least a day in advance. And these also will keep indefinitely in your refrigerator. That pickling brine is so acidic with the vinegar that nothing's going to grow in that.
Can you do other veggies in there like cucumbers?
Yeah, you can pickle anything you want in this, but you might want to change up your aromatics and your flavor spices. You might. I've got a basic pickling brine recipe that's just it's just vinegar, water, and salt. That is a basic brine that you can go whichever direction you want to go with. You could go garlic and dill if you wanted to for making pickles, but this one I use white wine vinegar instead of white distilled vinegar. So there's
I'm sorry.
buddy.
I'm sorry, Janice, give me a hard time.
I see
Cauliflower.
that. But anyway, one other quick thing I wanted to go before I started talking about butts is I can't remember if I've shown these here or not before. I think I probably have, but these are some of my favorite tools, especially when I'm cooking pork butts. These big, wide spatulas. I like to use these. These make it so easy to lift the pork butt on and off the grill when it's hot. I just slide one of these spatulas up under it. One of these is made by Traeger, and the other one's made by Pit Boss. And the only real difference in the two that I can tell is the price. The Traeger one's a little bit more expensive than the Pit Boss one is, and I don't remember how much the Traeger one was, but the Pit Boss one was $20 at Walmart, and I can't remember how much the Traeger one was, but this is something I think everybody should have. Keep your eyes open for those. It's a great tool to have at your grill. But here's one of my pork butts that I bought at Food Line for 99 cents a pound yesterday. It's almost 10 pounds. So I've decided to season that guy up. I used on this one a 50-50 blend of my Man Cave Meals AP Mojo and Pork Mojo. I think that's a really great blend for pulled pork barbecue. The Pork Mojo is good by itself, but the Pork Mojo doesn't on a pork butt. It's a little low on salt content for what I like, so I mix it 50-50 with the AP Mojo, and I get a perfect saltiness to that. And here's what I was going to use in the whole project. I've got my pickled onions, those two seasonings, and I'll also use this Atlanta Grill Company sweet sauce in the end. So I fired up the Classic 3 with the slow roller, and I put cherry wood chunks in there because I've got a ton of that on hand right now. And I use the fireboard to run this grill at about 200 degrees. And I put this butt on the grill last night about 9 o'clock. And I'm going to run it low at 200 degrees for about 12 hours before I come back to it. This morning at 9 o'clock, this is what we have. The internal temperature on that butt at 9 o'clock this morning was up to about 158. But the bark wasn't anywhere near where I wanted it to be. So what I do at this point is I close the grill back up. I run the temperature up to 275. And I keep an eye on it because I'm waiting for the bark to be where I want the bark to be before I wrap. So at this stage, I'm happy with the bark. And this is about another hour and a half later. I think the bark looked good. And the internal temperature on the meat at this point is about 171 or 172. So I took it off. I double wrapped it in foil and put it back on the grill for a couple more hours. And I pulled this guy when the internal temperature on that butt was about 205 or 206 is where I was happy with this one. And one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically is this rendering that you see here in this foil. This is some liquid gold right here, guys, and this is the reason I don't use butcher paper. I know butcher paper is a big thing. Everybody likes that, but I'm not one of them. Jarrell, do you wrap in butcher paper down there in Texas? That's a Texas thing.
Listen, I am wrapping in whatever the wife has happened to find at the local Kroger or Aldi. So that's almost always foil.
Okay.
I've used butcher paper once or twice. But
what are your thoughts on it?
I don't hate it. I'm not in love with it. Let me put it this way. I haven't seen enough benefit to where I am actively buying butcher paper.
And Anthony, yes, I did do this one fat cap up simply because I haven't done that in a very long time. I decided just to score that fat cap, go fat cap up, and it's not something I normally do, and I don't know if I'll do it again, but I just wanted to buck the system a little bit. But Jarrell, there's two things I don't like about butcher paper, and I'm going to talk about both of them. The first one is that I don't collect this rendering. This runs right out of butcher paper. And the reason I like to collect this is because when this butt is done, I lift this guy off the grill in that foil and set it right down in my cooler and let it rest. All these renderings that are here, plus any that are going to continue to come out while this is resting, I get to keep all that. And the beautiful thing about keeping all that is when I dump that guy into my prep tub to where I'm going to pull it, I mix it all back right back into that pork. And it's in my opinion, it's worth it from the flavor front to keep that on there. And especially because I'm not serving all this at once. I made 2 sandwiches with this today, and the rest of it got packaged up into individual vacuum seal bags that I'll reheat in my sous vide circulator later. And having that extra fat content in there not only provides a bunch of extra flavor, but it helps with the moisture content in the meat on the reheat as well. But the second thing I don't like about butcher paper is the mess. It's messy to deal with. That butcher paper soaks up that all those renderings, that it becomes saturated with it, and it's just a mess. Uh, I don't know. It wouldn't be such a bad deal with these barbecue prep tubs. I could set it in there and unfold it and roll the meat out of that and not have such a big mess. But foil is just easier to deal with. And I don't know if any one of them's any more environmentally friendly than the other or not. But here's my final product. I had some ciabatta rolls, and I put some of that pulled pork on there. I drizzled on a little bit of that Atlanta Grill Company sweet sauce, and then topped it with these beautiful uh, pickled onions. And this was crazy. This
I
was
gotta tell you,
just
John, this picture has convinced me to make pickled onions. I'd never even
well,
heard of them before you talked about them, but looking at this picture, I'm like, man, that looks amazing. I gotta make that and try it.
well, it's good. That recipe, one of the things I believe that makes this recipe so good is the allspice berries. Be sure to source out some whole allspice berries. There's only like 10 or so of them in there, but it really that one ingredient makes a pretty good difference in how these come out, I think. So keep your eye
Hmm.
on that. Here's
Where
just
do
a
you find those?
I got mine at one of my local grocery stores, I believe, because the ones I have at the moment are, I think they're a McCormick's brand. They're in the little round spice jar with the red top, one of the short jars. Let me see. I think it's McCormick's, but uh, yeah, it's McCormick's. It's
Okay,
well,
then yeah, I should be able to find that.
this is whole
You
allspice.
know what? I've definitely seen that in Kroger.
The smell on this, it's crazy, man. It's just a beautiful aroma, and that kind of thing comes through. It's this pickling, this recipe. It took me a while to come up with that profile with the black pepper, the red pepper flakes. You really, I don't know that they're actually showing up in that flavor. They might, but I keep putting them in there, and I just don't know that they're really offering up a whole lot. But the black peppercorns and the allspice berries are uh, definitely showing up. I don't know what Jeff's doing out there. Jeff's doing this looks like a Blair Witch trial going on down there at
Right.
Jeff's. The Blair Witch Project. So, Jeff, how's that pork coming along? Turn your mic back on.
Yeah. That pork is looking good. It's sitting on the counter. It's resting. Uh, I just ran the test on the gravity feed. It passed. So
Yeah,
life is good.
awesome.
Didn't burn
So,
down anything, you know. Life is good.
yeah, nice. But yeah, I've had a pretty good cooking week. I've gotten a lot of things done I wanted to play with. I'm still enjoying the new layout here in the man cave. It's like
Yeah,
it's
it turned out nice.
the changes that I've done here in the man cave are so drastic that it feels new to me.
That's the goal, right? Keep it the spice of life.
Yeah.
I like my bourbon den side over here. The bourbon den idea was something that Tanya's mom suggested. I think Tanya, was it your mom? Did you suggest it or did your mom suggest it?
Oh no, it was my mom. She
Yeah.
loves HGTV, and she saw somebody do a bourbon den, and she was like, "I got an idea for John. He should make a bourbon den." And I was like, "Okay." I was just
Yeah.
kind of wondering, which alien had swapped out.
So Jeff's
For
showing us these
mom.
new Myron Mixon injections.
There's two butts I did with the peach, and they
Hmm.
say to use to dissolve it in a white grape peach juice. Well, here in Florida, we can get peach nectar, so I use peach
Yeah.
nectar. Let me
Hmm.
tell you what, John, that tastes pretty good.
Yeah. The injection or the pork? You haven't
The
tasted the
pork,
pork. You
yeah,
tasted it?
I pulled off a piece of the pork, and it's right with the world.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see.
Hey, Jarrell, do you inject your pork butts?
I do, and have had really good luck with them. But I like to do the one of Chef Eric's processes where you sort of cut it into small sort of
The
hand
bombs.
size and wrap it so you get an extra. It feels like an extra bit of juiciness when you inject them and then wrap them. So that's sort of what I'm doing. You guys got me thinking. I mean, I am usually skipping cooking a big piece of meat just because there's just the four of us, and I don't have one of those vacuum sealers. And my wife will not make room in the freezer for me to freeze stuff. But man, your briskets and your pork butts are looking amazing. So I'm thinking I might head over to Kroger and get something for this weekend.
Well,
Well, like I say I like using the vacuum sealer and throwing it in the freezer. That way, the brisket. I use the leftover brisket in the cottage pies. I use it on pizzas. Yeah,
I don't know how it would be, but da, 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 you could can the pork.
could.
Can the pork?
Yeah, put it in mason jars and
Um,
seal it.
Huh?
Yep.
I don't know how well that would work.
Well, just thought.
Should be the same as I mean they can salmon and whatnot in Alaska. Can all kind. They can their venison and whatnot. So I don't see why you couldn't do pork.
Well, you can find canned ground beef. I mean, I don't recommend it, but you can find it.
Can I answer Anthony's question here
Absolutely.
with
Yeah.
a what is sure to be an unpopular opinion? Um, I, by and large, have not been incredibly impressed with Texas barbecue. I mean, now don't get me wrong. There's great barbecue here, but it feels like folks down here are inordinately proud of their barbecue just because it's Texas barbecue. Um, so I guess I say all that to say I'm not sure I've learned anything new, except that I really like the stuff that I'm cooking.
Jarrell, were you born and raised in the Atlanta area?
No, I'm from Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay.
Cajun country.
I was going to say that he's just used to Southern sweet barbecue, but that's not necessarily the case. He came out of a spicy area.
Yep.
So, uh, all right. I
Uh
didn't know
oh.
that.
Hmm.
So yeah, Louisiana, born and raised. We've moved around a little bit. We've lived in Houston and now in North Texas. We lived in Chicago, which was great, and then Atlanta for a long time, which is again a great city.
Well, I was disappointed that you couldn't make it to Atlanta for this event. Uh, so maybe next time, maybe December. Have you talked to your wife about December yet?
I have not. I know that we're probably going to be out there sometime soon. My daughter, my 18-year-old tripod, who talks back when she's supposed to just be videoing. She's starting school this fall in at Savannah College of Art and Design. So we'll at least find ourselves
Wow.
on that part of in that part of the country sometime soon.
Awesome. Well, let me know for sure next time you're going to be in the Atlanta area, and I will make it a point to get down there so we can hook up. It's
Sounds like a
been a
plan.
while. I got last time I got to hook up with you, I think was on your last visit up there. So
And it's been about a year.
yeah, it's been a while.
And I haven't seen you for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I moved away, and it's I miss Atlanta. We'll put it that way for a number of reasons.
Atlanta's a cool town.
Yeah.
Tom Cleveland says you can come by and cook.
I'm gonna be a visitor. You guys are supposed to cook for me, right? Is that not how this thing works?
Well, we'll do it. We definitely can do that. So, in fact, the first time I met Jarrell, what did I do? I cooked for him. You remember that, Jarrell?
Where were we? Were we at?
The
We were at.
first time, the first time I met you was I invited you and your wife to come hang out because
Yep.
Bobby Brennan had conned me into coming down and cooking lunch for the people at Kamado Joe
I
one
do
year,
recall, and I bet I've got a picture of that. Hold on.
and we had filet mignon, did we not?
We
From
did,
from
and it was
from
amazing.
Patton's, yeah. We got a couple of grills rolling outside, and we cooked filet mignon, we cooked asparagus, we cooked potato wedges, and made a meal out of it for the whole group, and that was fun.
Here, how can I share this with you?
I don't know if you can from your end. Shoot it to me in Facebook Instant Messenger,
All right.
and I'll pull it up on my end.
Here's the link. Uh-oh. I thought I had the link. Hold on. Here we go. Copy. And you should have that.
Let's see if I can bring it up. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's me and Jarrell and Bobby. That's at the old Kamado Joe
Right.
office in Duluth. Yep.
That looks like trouble.
Yeah.
That was when the series 2 was brand new, right?
Yep.
Because I still had a series 1. I remember when we took that picture.
And at that time, the Joe Tisserie was brand new also.
Because I went home with a Jotisserie that
Yeah.
day.
So yeah,
It's a good day.
that was at the old office, but I don't remember how many people. I cooked steaks for lunch that day for about 25 people at I think it's 25 people or so. That was a quaint crowd. There wasn't that many people. It seemed like there was. I didn't realize they had that many people running around out there at
Sure.
that place, but they did. So that was fun.
I went back maybe a couple of months later. I got invited to come out there and cook. Tom Cleveland was talking about it. I'm sorry, Stephen was talking about it. I went out there and cooked one Friday for the KJ folks, and I had never cooked for that many people. Right? I cooked for my
Yep.
family,
I remember that now that you mention it.
and I'll never forget. Chef Eric gave me this advice. He's like, "Man, it's your show. You know what you're doing. Go in, cool, take your time,
Mhm.
and just have a good time." And it was a great day. The folks there are so awesome.
Yep.
And cooking for a crowd is fun
It
if you
is.
manage not to stress out about it.
Yeah. Stress is the only thing that'll get in your way. You just got to go with the flow, man. You got to get the grills hot, and I don't know. I got off the hook easy because cooking steak and potato wedges and asparagus was easy.
It was
There was-
delicious though.
I had one grill going hot. I seared everything on one grill, moved it over to a cooler grill to finish it off, and we had a third grill running where we roasted the potatoes and the asparagus, and that was all we had. I didn't have to do anything complicated. Jarrell, do you have a real job?
The honest answer to this question is I always tell people that I don't have a real job. I I run a small tech support company. We support small businesses and residential users for their IT issues. So I am quote unquote the boss. Um, so I mean, so that's the real job.
Look
Yep.
at this, a whole group of IT people.
I know.
I'm not IT anymore. I'm former IT. I
Well, so
graduated.
am I because I'm retired. But my daughter still calls me, and then Orange County Public Schools still calls me and says, "Hey, can you do this?" Yeah, I can do it.
So when
I
your
did
daughter
feel
calls, you
pretty
got to
good.
do it for free. When Orange County calls, you got to send them an invoice, though, right?
I did feel pretty good
it's all
earlier
free.
this week. my IT skills aren't completely gone because Tanya's taking a programming class in a language that I'm not as familiar with. She's taking a Python class, and I was able to sort out a problem or help her sort out a problem in code. Well, actually, I was not, but I was able to determine that her logic was correct, that there was something wrong with the syntax, and I was
Sure.
right. It turned out to be a syntax problem and not a logic problem with the piece of code she was working with. But since it was Python, a language I've never written any code in, I
You
couldn't
couldn't
sort
tell where
out
the
what was
syntax
wrong. But
was.
everything, I looked at what she was doing, and everything she was doing was logically correct. So I said, Tanya, I said, what you're doing is working. And she figured it out later on. Something was indented, and it
Mm.
couldn't be indented at a certain place, and it caused the compiler not to compile the code. And let me tell you something, Python, when it kicks out error messages, it's worse than a C compiler at telling you what's wrong.
Yeah.
So, geez.
You almost need a translator to figure out the error messages.
Here,
I
code.
got a I got a funny story about that. My wife is in public health, and she had to take a lot of statistics classes and studying for her PhD. And one of these classes, they're learning some programming language because they got to I don't even know why she's learning this programming language, but she comes home, not at all an IT person. She comes home, and we had just been married not very long, and she goes, "This teacher's talking about numbers aren't numbers; they're just ones and zeros, and I got no idea what he's talking about." And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like coding." So I take a look at it, and so I end up tutoring her through this entire PhD level class. And I think that's one of the reasons she's kept me around for 20 years is because I'm maybe a little useful now and again.
Yeah. All right,
Oh,
guys.
I bet she has other reasons.
It's we're past our time here, so I'm gonna wrap things up here. And Jarrell, I appreciate you hanging out with us. You're welcome to join
Yeah,
us any.
buddy.
Yeah, this
Uh,
was great. Thanks for the
it's
invite.
always fun when we got some extra people on here. I know me and Jeff are good looking and everything, but it's good to bring some extra sexy in here every now and then. So Jarrell, thanks for that, and we'll get you back in here with us one Friday or Thursday night. Like I said, we're going Thursday nights now, and I think I'm hoping Thursday night's going to work out. And guys, let me tell you something. Jarrell's one of the reasons. He's one of the people that requested Thursday night. He's not the only one. He's one of many that said, "Can you do it on some other night of the week?" So we're going to. Oh boy,
Yeah,
hey,
Luca.
Jarrell he doesn't like Brussels sprouts. He doesn't like cauliflower, and he hates figs.
Figs. With a passion.
It just doesn't belong on pizza, and Luca knows this.
I don't know, man. Pizza. I don't know what does and doesn't belong on pizza is up for grabs, and that brings up another thing. I talked to somebody else today. I'm going to have a pizza person coming on with us the first week of August. I'll give you more details on that a little bit later. I finally got somebody willing to come on that can talk pizza with us. So that'll be our first Thursday night in August. So guys, we're going to wrap. I appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Thursday. Thanks for coming in.